And while we sit here with MPs like Jennifer O'Connell, who said boo-hoo to Conservatives who wanted actual elected politicians working with foreign governments to be exposed.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Canadian Circus. In today's video, this is a fiery one. This is Lauren Southern just absolutely destroying the people on this panel that are trying to accuse her of Russian disinformation. And you know that there's no greater purveyor of disinformation than the Canadian government. So with that said, we're going to watch her just roast these people. Stay tuned.
Justin takes the center stage in this liberal masquerade. Cabinet ministers close behind while the master spins his lies. Welcome to the Canadian Circus.
You said, though, in your opening, your views are rapidly becoming the views of the majority of this nation. Do you think the Great Replacement theory is going to become the views of the majority of this nation anytime soon?
Depends what you mean by the Great Replacement theory. What do you mean?
Well, what do you mean by the Great? Well, that there's an active attempt to replace a white population with a non-white population. What do you mean by that?
I think that there are a lot of people that have concerns about the impacts of mass immigration removing the culture in certain areas. I think you could ask people in Brampton or individuals in Surrey what they think about the language being spoke around them, whether it's a Canadian language whatsoever, whether they feel that their culture is being preserved. I don't think it's an insane concept. And in fact, I think many liberals would agree that many cultures and peoples have been replaced before by mass immigration, our Indigenous population not least of all.
You might think it's insane, though, to head over to Russia, speak with a neo-fascist Alexander Dugin, and then praise the guy to say...
Sorry, Mr. Erskine-Smith.
You might think that's a level of insanity.
To respond to the allegations that I'm an insane person quickly for interviewing Alexander Dugin, given my inspiration for the interview was from TVO's The Agenda, Steve Paikin, who interviewed Dugin. I don't think we would be calling him insane in this house. I think there is a deliberate effort to slander me for political purposes.
So I just want to read, in 2014, Dugin said Russia should, quote, kill Ukrainians. He's previously been involved with Pomyat, which has been described as the most significant anti-Semitic organization since Perestroika. He's expressed his admiration for the SS, adopting the alter ego named Hans Sievers, named after the war criminal, who was general secretary of a Nazi research institute that Heinrich Himmler established. I'm just curious. I know you've mentioned Steve Paikin a number of times, and I had limited time to look here, slightly different than the interview that you did. I'll just be honest. Why would you want to platform someone like that?
The exact same reason Steve Paikin did and TVO did, because he is an interesting geopolitical figure, and I was more right than I bargained for initially at how interesting he would get. When I watched the TVO interview and when I watched the work of Michael Millerman, one of his translators, they kind of figured these ideas of...
Do you agree with his views on Ukraine?
No. I don't think we should kill the Ukrainians. On the contrary, I think we should be trying to not kill anybody. Not a big fan of killing people, Ukrainian or otherwise.
And do you prescribe to his anti-Semitic views?
No. Once again, you're interviewing me right now. Do you agree with all of my opinions?
No, I actually find some of them quite offensive. I'm just curious what a Canadian language is. Is that Ojibwe and Cree?
Typically in Canada, our national languages are English and French. I kind of figured this was common knowledge in here, but...
Okay. Well, I guess, it's funny, I was just in the Baltic countries and met with the NATO Center of Excellence on Strategic Communications, and a lot of what you put out aligns perfectly with the type of Russian misinformation that I heard about, particularly around immigration. But anyway, that's just a comment. You have been you keep referring to Steve Paikin and the fact that he did an interview with someone. you went to Russia, if I'm not mistaken, you were barred from going to the UK, is that correct?
Yes, I was barred from going to the UK.
And why was that?
That was because I tried to set up a pride parade in Luton, and the Islamic population there typically are not a big fan of that. And I was told that it was stirring up hatred.
And so you went to Russia to stir up hatred against Jews?
I'm so sorry. What are you referring to?
Look who you deliberately made a trip to Russia to interview someone who is one of the most anti-Semitic people around. Is it just to be controversial? Is that, do you find that funny?
What part? Yeah, I do find it funny that you are accusing me of taking a trip to Russia to stir up hatred around Jews when I don't think Jews came up once during my interview with Alexander Dugin. I don't know where you're getting that from. And once again, Steve Piken conducted an interview with him. I guess you would have to make the same anti-Semitic accusation against TVO.
Ms. Southern, his views are well known, and you deliberately went there, so you're basically trying to create chaos. Funny thing is, that's what they say Russia does with all the things that they do, is try to create chaos in society. So it sounds like your goal is to try and create chaos, and I don't get the sense that you have a lot of respect for Western liberal democracy as it is.
John's for 6 minutes.
Ms. Southern, before collaborating with other influencers, what steps do you take to ensure the media in which you are appearing is acting lawfully?
What steps do I take to ensure the media I'm appearing in is acting lawfully?
Yeah.
I don't think that, as much as I would love to be able to afford a private investigator to go and confirm every contract I sign, 10 years of working with someone in the same industry and 10 years of working with someone in the same industry and being given a very standard boilerplate contract that I would get from any other company. I've never had this happen before, and I think in retrospect, it's easy to say that I should have done more investigation, but what investigation would you have done in my shoes?
I think it's important to do due diligence, and you have significant following on social media platforms where misinformation can spread rapidly. How do you ensure that the content you share is not used by foreign entities to amplify narratives that undermine Canadian democracy or national security?
Are you accusing me of spreading narratives that have undermined
I'm just asking
democracy?
you a question, just like, in terms of how do you ensure that the content you share is not used by foreign entities to amplify narratives that undermine Canadian democracy or national security? What measures do you take?
I ensure that every contract I sign and have ever signed in media gives me full creative control of every single thing I say and publish. That's how I ensure.
Well, there's concerns that individuals or groups may be unintentionally aiding foreign governments in spreading divisive narratives. How do you respond to allegations that your online content has been used to further Russian propaganda or influence Canadian public opinion?
As far as I'm aware, just this month, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a pause to immigration or a decrease in immigration for the next 3 years, citing unsustainable growth. This is one of the critiques that has been my main critique on tenant media and off tenant media. And having it portrayed as Russian disinformation by this committee or even aiding and abetting Russians has been very interesting. I may understand I may have been right too early on this issue, and as so I must be socially punished by this regime. But although much too late, I happen to believe that Justin Trudeau is making the correct decision there. And I would hope that this committee wouldn't advocate Canadians stop drinking water or wearing seatbelts because someone with the last name Ivanov or Petrov suggested it was a good idea.
No, that's not what we're asking, but what is your stance on foreign interference in Canadian elections and political discourse? Do you believe there is a clear and present danger from foreign actors such as Russia? And if so, what responsibility do individuals like yourself bear in preventing the spread of foreign influence? Do you take
I was
any
a
responsibility?
commentator for a channel who had full control over the videos I made, and I ensured they were truthful. If you want to point to anything I've said that has been disinformation or aiding and
I'm
abetting.
actually asking what you believe. Do you believe there is a clear and present danger from foreign actors such as Russia? And if so, what responsibility do you believe the individuals like yourself and your platform aid in preventing the spread of foreign influence?
I think that it is rich that I am sat here and being asked what I have to do to stop foreign influence and foreign interference as a Canadian citizen. Well, we sit here with MPs like Jennifer O'Connell, who said boo-hoo to Conservatives who wanted actual elected politicians. working with foreign governments to be exposed.
So I take it
I am
you
a
don't take any
regular
responsibility.
Canadian.
So, sorry, I take it you don't take responsibility.
Volunteer.
I'm sorry, it's not your turn, Ms. O'Connell. I'm going to continue. How do you reconcile your business model, which prioritizes user engagement and raking in massive profits from clicks, with the necessity to protect users from harmful disinformation that can lead to real-world consequences like hate-based violence?
How is anyone in this committee supposed to stop disinformation abroad if they can't stop it within this committee? Why wasn't Ben Scott, why wasn't he challenged when he cited false numbers about Tenet's views? Why wasn't he challenged when it was said that Tenet created the top podcast in the world, that they were getting billions of impressions? If we cannot stop disinformation within this committee, I'm sorry, but no one here is stopping disinformation coming from abroad or foreign interference.
What effects do you believe your content has on Canadians?
I think I speak for the majority of Canadians. I think I speak for people who don't have a voice in this government. I think I speak for people who feel they have been censored and shut up for too long by the mainstream media, and I'm proud of it.
Do you, like, and I'm glad we're talking about how you personally feel. Can you speak about how you feel about your online content, you know, since it was aiding in objectives that were planned, plotted, and executed in the Kremlin?
Would you say that Justin Trudeau's reduction of immigration was aiding and abetting the Kremlin? Should he be pulled here because he had the same ideas that I had?
I'm asking you, do you have any personal feelings that your online content was aiding in those objectives?
I do not. I disagree with that. I think I have very normal opinions that were all coming from myself. No one told me to have my views. No one forced me to have my opinions. My opinions are based on
I'll ask
living
you
and
about
growing
that.
up in this country.
Okay. Okay. So right now, you're telling us right now that you're not going to take any different steps to ensure that the people that are paying you are legitimate and don't have ulterior motives?
The steps I'm taking is I'm not going to work in media again because I am tired of this subterranean Fed level nonsense going on. And I would like to just go on with my normal life as a Canadian, not being harassed by CSIS or the government or you people.
Welcome to the